What is up, Team Eternal? Welcome to another EPL Eternal Logos podcast. We are back in the studio. I'm so excited to have special guests. All my guests are special. Today, we have Rachel, Mercy. These are two of my friends. We kind of became friends over the past, I would say 6 months or so. Like, met you guys, and I've been going to the gym for a while, but we officially, I feel like, kind of got to the place where you guys were like, hey, we talked and we were like, let's do a podcast. And then Mercy was like, oh, invite Rachel. And this kind of turned into a thing. So I appreciate you guys being here, of course. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. Like we normally say, liking and subscriptions, optional. Commenting is mandatory because we want to know what everybody thinks. We want to have good conversations. And so that's what we're going to have today. We'll give you guys a chance to introduce yourselves. If you have social media that you like to plug. Oh, by the way, Mercy is the lovely lady that did this for me.
Yes.
So she is an artist on which she does her social media, and that just go support both of these ladies. They're talented, they're going places, and they're absolute beasts in the gym. I watch them all the time. So we'll go ahead and start. We'll start with Mercy. Mercy, go ahead and introduce yourself, whatever you want to say to the people.
Okay.
Plug your social media.
Hi. Where do I look at?
Wherever.
Okay. I'm gonna just look at you guys.
Yeah.
Well, y'all already know me. For the people that don't know me, my name is Mercy Dikbalu. It's a complicated last name. I'm Nigerian, but it's French. Besides that, I am just a lover of Christ. Just trying to build myself up daily. I'm just trying to grow. Yeah, Army Reserves, personal trainer, still trying to figure it out. If you get it, you get it. But yeah,
Social media.
just happy to be here. I do have
Instagram.
social media, so TikTok and Instagram. She is love.m.
Perfect. And Rachel.
Right now. No, I'm just kidding.
It's all good.
My name is Rachel. Most people know me by Coop. That's what I like to go by. Literally the same as Mercy. Lover of Christ. Also personal trainer. Not Army Reserves, but Army Vets. Same. Trying to figure it out. Most things are going well, but life be lifing. So there's those little couple of things. Instagram and TikTok, both the same. rxch.coop, COOP. Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a perfect introduction. So like we normally do, the ladies are going to introduce the topic. We'll have a nice long discussion about the topic that they decided to pick. And you guys actually already said it. So I like to say, what's your worldview? But you guys have introduced yourselves as Christians, lovers of Christ. I also am a lover of Christ as well. So it should be a really good conversation. So what topic did you, and there's a story actually behind the topic. Like at first we talked and we were like in the gym. We were like, hey, what do we want to do? And then there was this, we won't necessarily go because we don't want to go into it. Yeah. But today we were like hanging out. We went to go eat, and they were like, we have a long list. And they showed me a TikTok video. You guys may have seen it.
The list is crazy.
It was like at least 200 items on it.
Stole it so quick. Save right now.
That's what she called me. She didn't call me to find how to get here. She
No,
called
absolutely
me
not.
because she was worried about the list.
I said, let's
Like, have we
brainstorm
figured it
now
out?
so we seem a little bit prepared.
Prepared.
No, I'm perfect. So we decided on the topic. Normally we try to pick the topic, and this has rarely actually happened where someone actually has picked like the day when we actually do the podcast. Because normally people are like kind of like, what are we going to talk about? And they're like, but I'm like, kind of the point is I want you to pick, and I don't want to know what it is ahead of time. But we haven't had much time to like discuss or having much time to like research anything. I just want my thoughts in the conversation to be as authentic as possible, right? There'll be moments and times where it's like, oh, I need to maybe do some research and look at some statistics depending upon what it is. But for now, I kind of like to do it authentically. All right. So what's the topic, ladies? You guys want to say it together? By the way, they were doing rock, paper, scissors to decide topics and pick seats in the studio. So it was great. So what's the topic?
Rock, paper, scissors was our game.
I use it for everything.
Really,
If I'm indecisive, I will play rock, paper, scissors myself.
What did you do first? Split child. She's over here like,
No, like,
You gotta show us how to do that. Yeah.
all right, I want to get some stuff.
that
So
was
this is it.
silly.
Okay.
Do you want to introduce the topic?
I actually don't remember. So I knew you wrote it down. I was gonna tell you
I remember.
to like or
Okay.
ask
Kind
you
of.
if you could just pull it up on your
No, it's all
Pull
good.
it
Pull it
up.
up.
I kept it here in my notes
app. Thank God you wrote it down because I was like
because
something about
it would have been so bad.
like
She said something about
picking,
what is it? No, I'm just kidding.
attraction.
This shows you how
attraction.
offensive it is. We can't even remember the topic.
Exactly.
But the
Love it.
topic is, are you what you attract?
Are
Quick
you
answer
what
is
you
no.
attract?
I'm just kidding.
Okay, so let me so
Um,
so let's
cut
start
it
off with
off,
this,
cut it
right?
off.
So are you what you attract? Are we talking at the level of dating and relationships? Are you thinking maybe just group dynamic in general, the people who you meet at the gym, people you hang out with, friends? Like what level are we talking? I mean, maybe there's multiple levels which we
I
can
was
hit
gonna
all.
say multiple.
Yeah, I was
wanna
gonna say,
get
I
to
feel
Okay.
like it's
levels.
all of them, like
Okay.
Yeah.
relationship, friendships,
Yeah.
coworkers.
I do think they tie together for
Yeah.
sure, right? Like so. What do you guys think?
That's all a relationship right there.
Wanna start, Mercy?
Where do you want to start?
Wherever you want.
I say let's start with friendships.
Yeah.
Okay.
So French. Okay, so this is actually great because I think hanging out with you guys tonight together for the first time for an extended period of time, you guys are very similar,
We are
right? So like
We
I think you
get
guys
along.
bounce
We're
off of each other
We do.
similarly. Yeah. So I mean, if there's ever a reason and some evidence to support that,
It's
have
us.
anecdotal evidence as we speak, right?
Go ahead and drop the receipts.
It's literally us.
What have you noticed about us?
So mannerisms, you guys have a good chemistry.
I like that word.
Yeah, you guys, you guys laugh at the same like the list. You guys were all about the list. You're like, yeah. You guys were really excited about that. You guys were like, we made it. I actually thought they had wrote this list first originally.
He was
I was
scared.
like,
He was like,
there's no. I was like,
Yeah,
we'll
like,
never
we
pick a
were
topic.
Picking the same topics. I was like, yeah, I want this topic, and then 5 minutes later, she didn't hear me.
Yeah.
Then she'd be like, this topic. I was like, I already said it.
Exactly. So yeah, in that way, like you guys are very similar. So I mean, that
We get
seems
told
really
that
simple.
all the time, though.
Here's a question: have you ever been with a person or made a friend that you found out later you were not like? Right. So if let's just say that we're going to say that you attract the people, you attract the same energy, so to speak, right? Have you been around people that you were not like or similar to, and you found out later?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the context? Was it like
Why are we like this? We're both like,
I know similar as
Should
we
I,
speak?
should I spill the tea? Is this person gonna
Lame.
eventually figure it out?
I want you to
that
go
I'm
first.
talking about you.
I
I don't need y'all to know.
They're like watching and they're like, wait,
So that's
They'll tune
you're
in.
talking about me?
We'll encourage them to
If
tune
the
in.
shoe fits,
the
Yeah.
shoe fits.
maybe
Okay,
you should
wear
wear
it.
you go
Wear it
first,
proudly.
Rach.
I'm trying to think. It's like been multiple scenarios.
Mhm.
yeah.
I'll go back to when I was in the army.
Mhm.
A lot of them follow me, so if y'all see this, sorry, not sorry. But it was like certain people that were like, for example, like they would say they're Christians just to get close to me. So now I'm like, oh, okay, like we're both Christians, cool.
Mhm.
So I guess we'll get along there. They were not Christians.
Mhm.
Or like certain people, like when I first met them, like when I was in, they'd be like super nice, you know,
Mhm.
pretend to be caring, you know. That's the type of person I am. So I'd be like, okay, cool. Like they're a cool person. Like they have the same
characteristics.
Characteristics.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. Take a breather. But y'all knew the word I was trying to say. Like they have the same ones as me. But then like eventually like down the road, like I'd hear them like talking to like other people and I'd be like, I would never say that to someone, you know?
Mhm.
Or like some of them like seems like beating their wives and stuff. And I'm like, that has nothing the way I am.
Right.
So it was like later down the line, it'd be like 6 months later, but I would be like, oh, okay, this is not somebody I want to hang around, you know?
Right.
So it was like the initial attraction that I was like, oh, like we'd be cool, like we'd be friends. But then like down the line, I was like, no, we wouldn't, because
Right.
you have. That's another topic for another day. Another day, but
Yeah.
toxic, like very, very toxic traits.
Characteristics about
Yeah,
themselves.
thank you for saying the word because I'm not gonna try it again.
No, you're good. You're good.
And then Mercy.
Yeah.
What do you?
So like a good example is just someone who sees everything in black and white.
Mhm.
and I see things in color. Like there is no one way to do things or one way for things to be, especially just like in, let's say, a situation that happened. You might have had a perspective, or that person might have had a perspective, and I had another perspective. To be able to just come to a middle ground and just be like, okay, well, we are both not perfect. We're both not fully right in this situation. Let me understand where you're coming from to an extent, and just come to a middle ground.
Right.
So like I definitely lost friendships for that, or a friendship for that, because there's a specific thing that happened. Like imagine someone being so delulu to a story, like to something that happened that you were there, like you were experiencing it too, and them to stand so firmly on it. I was like, oh, were you? Are you sure
Mm,
you were there? Like,
mhm.
because I don't think that's what. Yeah, and like they were so stern on that experience, and that's what happened. I was just like, I don't think this can go anywhere.
Right.
So lost friendships for that, and then just another one. Like as I got to know people, I started to realize we don't have that much in common.
Mhm.
And the only reason why we were able to relate so well with each other was because we experienced a certain season with each other. So we had so much to talk about. Like we would go back and be like, oh, remember when we did this? But y'all are still growing. So we kind of, I would say, grew apart,
Mhm.
but also, I honestly wouldn't even say that. It's more so we learned more about ourselves as individuals, that with that it kind of separated us
Mhm.
in a way. So I'm not going to say the friendships have ended, but it has kind of like divided us from being so close
Right.
knitted like we used to. And that's okay. I've accepted it.
Yeah. So what is it about? So would it be safe to say there's an initial attraction to, right? If you are what you attract, then is there an initial attraction that sort of contextualizes your friendship at first,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or do you think that attraction comes at a much deeper level, right? So for instance, you meet somebody, you're like, oh, we're really similar, we have similarities, and then over time you discover, oh, this person's not really like me at all, right? Either they lied to you or maybe you grew apart, right? You might be thinking like, okay, well, what is it about attraction, and at what level does it take place, and when do you realize that, right? So hypothetically, if you meet somebody, right, let's just say you are what you attract, right? And you meet somebody and over time you discover that they're not like you at all, right? If we agree that you are what you attract, let's just say that's the premise of what we're saying, right? Then if it holds true, then there is maybe a part of them that might exist in you in some way, right? And I think sometimes activities can kind of like, okay, we both we all work out,
He's
right?
onto something, Rich.
And
I
so,
know, 'cause I was
so
thinking, I
like,
was
you know what I'm
like,
saying?
what?
Like, it gets really deep, right? In the sense, right? Because it's like there is the initial, but then there's the much deeper level, right? And so we do tend to like become friends over things that are similar. Working out, for instance, right? Like
Yeah.
we all met in the gym. But then when more personality things come out, right? Then that's when we start sort of making a decision on whether that person's going to remain our friend or discovering like, what? They lied to me. I had no idea they were like this,
Mhm.
right? But if the premise is true, then is a part of them also a reflection of a part of you?
I think so.
Low key, don't be
Is that
hitting-
scary? Do
don't be
people
hitting
think?
people
It's
hard
not
like that.
scary, but it does make me realize a lot about myself, if anything.
Mm,
You really just have to understand like what clicked that made you want to connect with that person. So you're actually right.
mm,
From at least from my perspective, I can see what you're talking about.
mhm,
Mhm.
Like for me and Rachel, is definitely, I would say, our characteristics of just being sarcastic and
Mhm.
just a dry sense of humor, and being very bubbly, but also kind of like introverts.
mm,
Yeah, like
So
we have a limit.
we have a lot in common in that aspect. Like we are very lovable, we're very giving,
Mhm.
very kind, very generous, but not to everyone. Like
Mhm.
we want to be very selective with that, because I know myself, I can say that about you, because
Mhm.
the energy just reads off.
right.
It
For the
radiates, I
yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
So,
Especially when it comes to certain situations, like I'll go to her or she'll like go to me, and we'll be like, "Yeah, that's what we're gonna do."
Mhm.
Because
Right.
we're like, "Yep,
Mhm.
we get it. We
Right.
know we're on the same page." Like for us, it was like initial attraction, and then getting to know each other, and then we're like, "Okay, we'll stay friends. Especially when, like, when we had like our whole little, not
That
argument,
had nothing
but
to do with me.
yeah, it was like that whole little thing. That's when I think, well, for me at least, that's when I think I knew we were really gonna be friends, because we were both like,
We
this is stupid. Like, it was so dumb for it to even have like happened.
Mhm.
So we were both like, this is dumb.
We were on the
We
same
shouldn't let
page
this
from
affect our
from the
friendship.
get go.
Yeah. So we were like, mm-mm. That's when I was like, yeah, okay, good
You're
to know.
my kind of girl.
Yeah, I was like, she's gonna be a forever friend, because
Mhm.
Right.
anything else would have been like,
But stemming back to kind of just answer your question,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so the initial attraction would just be something specific that I guess you and the other person can relate to, and whatever that is connected to, that's kind of where y'all kind of, that's, I would say that's like the seed. You start with that seed, and then getting to know each other, like it grows, the flower blossoms, and sometimes it might die because you don't water it. Sometimes it might die because y'all are on the same page. Like, you're thinking sunlight, this person's thinking rain. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I hope that kind of
Yeah.
So I
Get
get
it,
what you're.
though.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
get it.
yeah.
I use the word scary because I think what's really interesting from my perspective is human beings tend to, so for instance, you have two people meet, there's an initial attraction, we bond over something that we have in common,
Mhm.
right? And it's usually something very like, we like the same movie, we like the
Mhm.
same type of thing, whatever. And then if there's ever a clash or a moment in the relationship where it's like, okay, this is something we don't agree with, or something about that personality that the other person might not like, right? We tend to, keeping with the theme, say, well, that thing that I don't like, well, that's not like me at all, right? But the things that we like about each other, we're like, yeah, it's just like me, we're perfect,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so that's just I think that's just a human thing psychologically that we do. And so I use scary because if we are what we attract, then there's going to be a reflection, and to see
Mhm.
that part of someone that you had so much trust in, and just like, okay, do I do that? Right.
Yeah.
Oh my
I'm sure there's
gosh.
moments too
It
where people
kinda
will
goes
reflect.
into
Yeah.
shadow work. If you really want to get in deep and really talk about you are what you attract, like when you say, like when you were talking about when you see that one thing that you just don't like about somebody, that's really something that you don't like about yourself.
Mhm.
Because in all honesty, for you to even like relate to someone so closely, like they actually have a lot. You have a lot in common with them. And honestly, you're looking in a mirror if that's who you're attracted to, right? You're
Mhm.
attracted to some part of yourself that um you're attracted to a part of yourself that you actually enjoy, that's something that you want to keep in the front pockets, right? Or in the forefront of your mind, versus something negative that somebody does and you're just like, if you actually find an ick with that and you push that person away because of that,
Like, you're
that's something
annoyed.
that you don't like about yourself.
Mhm.
So what kind of what's triggering that feeling? What's making you want to push this person away?
Mhm.
Because I relate like having a church,
Mhm.
going, not even really trying to base it off or go into the faith aspect, but
Mhm.
I relate having a church kind of being like your family. You can have issues with your family, but you're supposed to have a church, like you need a home. So brothers and sisters argue, but
Mhm.
it's all about being willing to just stay. Like you're
Mhm.
supposed to be able to just get through things, because you're not gonna like, that's your family. You can't find any other family. Like there is no other family but the one that you like were birthed to, right?
Mhm.
So in that sense of like just having people that you have in your life, loyalty is everything. So if you're over here falling off with someone because of something that you don't like about them, is really something that you haven't like dealt with about yourself, or
Mhm.
is it really something that's just toxic and you know for a fact it's toxic? That's why you're leaving. So people
Mhm.
leave off of kind of BS reasons,
Mhm.
if you really think about it, or
Yeah.
destroy
Mhm.
friendships and relationships because of BS reasons. So
Yeah.
either you fix that about yourself, or it's maybe nothing that has to do with you. That's
Mhm.
really when we really have to look ourselves in the mirror to really understand
Right.
why are we
Mhm.
Right.
leaving? Why are we not
I
Right.
get what you're
trying a little bit
saying.
harder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're saying it's like scary, because it's like,
Yeah, you really have to do some digging.
that's what I'm saying. I get it, because it's like, if someone has a toxic trait, right, but
Mhm.
you were like initially attracted to them, well, it's kind of like, well, what if you got that toxic trait? So now they're bringing it out because they're like,
Right.
okay, well, you do it, so
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I can
Mm.
do it. So, like, why not? Or like,
Right.
I don't want to get into the whole like, oh, this generation sucks. Like
Hypocrisy
kinda
really
crap,
plays a
but
big toll.
It's
it
big.
does,
Yep.
and it's like it's so big nowadays, especially with the whole. I feel like opposite attracts
Mhm.
or attract each other, whatever. That saying does not go with nowadays
Mm.
because it's literally like what she's saying. Like someone has a problem or something happens, and then the person's like, "Oh, well, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be with you anymore because you showed something that I don't like." But it's
Mm.
like you're like that, so how can you be mad at someone else because they're doing what you're doing? Like literally what she said, it's hypocrisy.
Confidently, and
Like,
you're just
Right.
doing it in private in a sense.
exactly.
Right.
Like, okay, well, you can't be saying anything because it's you. Like projection. I tell people all the time, projection is so real.
Right.
Like people always
Oh,
put
yeah.
their problems on someone else, but it's like that's your problem. So why?
Mhm.
But some people
Like-
don't actually see it when they're doing it in
Mhm.
like in that moment. Sometimes I don't even see it, but when I do some self reflecting, I'm like, oh,
Like,
Right.
should I have
let me
really
come back and apologize because
Thank you. That's what I did. I'm
I
like,
was
Yeah.
wrong.
very
I
much.
can put my hands up.
Mm.
You guys are really on to something there because I was having a conversation with somebody recently, and it was more on the relationship conversation. But when you're with somebody and you think, well, people will say, right, like, oh, they changed. Or like out of nowhere, they showed me this person that they weren't, right? And my response is kind of like, okay, well, maybe that's possible, but it could also be that maybe you ignored the red flags,
Mhm.
right? And so I
Yeah.
think it kind of ties into what we're saying here because it's like if there's some toxic traits that they possess, right? That initial attraction of you guys coming together and really bonding over something, right, will oftentimes in us supersede, right, like those red flags that we might see in a person,
Right.
right? And so we tend to ignore it. Like if we're honest, we're like, you know, that person did something that was like unsavory. Sometimes it'll influence us to kind of be that thing, right? Like
Mhm.
sometimes you'll find yourself doing it, right? Like, and so that's kind of like what you guys are saying. It's like, oh, well, is this who I am?
Mhm.
Like that's in
Mhm.
having to realize that can be really, really exactly.
But you become like, and I've heard this saying like my whole life, but like you become who you hang around. So it's
It's another
like,
way of putting it.
dude.
Yeah.
and I hate it, but I can testify for that because the more I hang around certain people, I like do like I'll do your laugh. Like when you laugh, like with your shoulders, I'll do
Mhm.
that because I've been around you
He
for so
laughs
long.
with
now.
his
Yeah.
show.
Yes,
I
he's
did.
like,
It was
like,
hilarious.
with
Yeah, we had a
this-
whole. I did, and I do it on purpose too, because I know.
He's doing it right now.
Exactly.
He's like, you literally do like you laugh with your shoulders. So I started doing
But
that.
did you notice that?
And it's like, I don't know. I noticed like small things, but it's also stuff that like you don't notice. Like you could be
Mhm.
saying like something that one of your friends in your friend group like says. You don't know you're saying it though, but you're saying it because you've been
Mhm,
around
caught
them so
on to
much.
it.
Mhm.
Or, like your opinion changed because you've been around someone so much. So that's how I feel like certain times is like you do become the people that you're around. So then if you do start being like, oh, well, I don't like this about this person, it's like, well, you're just like that now. You've been friends with them for
sense.
like a year or two. So technically you can't really say you don't like that trait
Mhm.
because now you have that trait
What if they learned it from you?
from like
You ever
what-
think
That's
about
what I'm
that?
saying.
What if they learned it from you?
And
Like
even
everybody.
worse. That's even
mirror
worse.
to
Exactly.
an extent. Like, so this is kind of how like I see it because you might not be exactly like the person that's with you because just like how you have a life, the other person has a life, and they
Mhm.
have friendships that you may not have. So I
Mhm.
could get one thing from this person and one thing from that person, and y'all might not even know each other. So
Mhm.
I'm going to be a reflection of every person that's in my life,
Mhm.
not just
Which is
that one. So
crazy.
it could be one or two traits that I might have carried
Mhm.
from you or this person or that person. That's what makes me who I am. So that's why I can't compare myself to anybody else. So it's just really about being careful with who you choose to spend your time with. You are who you attract, but it's only certain qualities that you're going to attract,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. It's not going to be everything,
Mhm.
right? So I might say that I might attract ugly people, but maybe you're not attracting ugly people necessarily.
Ugly on the inside.
You know, like
Mhm.
it could go both ways. Like I
Mhm.
might attract ugly people on the surface level, but they might have just beautiful hearts. It's
Mhm.
not about like surface level, but really just about the internal. So on the surface, I might attract artsy people. People are just colorful and bright and wear just beautiful clothing, right? Because I also do wear that. Because if I was plain Jane, do you think I would be they would be attracted to me? Absolutely not. People are attracted to surface level first, I truly believe.
Mm-hmm.
Because like me being fit, I'm not gonna want to attract someone who isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's another topic for another day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I do have friends like that. But you'll start to see me not even spending as much time with them versus the other because we have more in common.
Mhm.
Right. And then from there, the surface level goes into more spiritual and like mental health, right?
Mhm.
That's when you really that's when you really find like your people, because that takes time. That takes
Mhm.
time to actually understand about people. So I think surface level always comes first,
Mhm.
whether we like to admit it or not.
For sure.
It's true.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
Okay, don't judge a book by its cover. Cap.
So true.
Right.
So
Right.
cap.
Like, what
Or
else do you have?
I will
Right.
judge
What
a
else
book
do you
by its
have?
cover
Right.
because if the book doesn't look cool, I'm not reading it.
That's
So
true.
you are attracted to what you see first. That's why we have eyes.
Mhm.
Like sometimes I question what it's like to be like that.
Mm,
Be different, man. But
mm.
that's a whole nother topic for
Right.
another time.
We have to have like
But I
Heart
truly believe surface
25.
levels
Yeah.
first, and then as you get to know people, you start to understand, okay, we have a lot of things in common, but the spiritual side, maybe not for me.
Mhm.
Energy, maybe not for me.
Right.
And then you kind of go from there.
Yeah. What about when people trauma bond?
Oh,
Because that's the thing.
sickening.
I've been through
Yeah.
that like
Y'all need to stop.
a
Mhm.
lot. It's something that you literally. I don't want to keep bringing like religion into it,
Yeah.
but
No, bring it
That's
in.
good.
it is
if that's where
something. Yeah,
who
you gotta pray
are.
about it
Yeah.
because I had a trauma bond with someone, and like half the scars of my body wouldn't be here if I didn't have that trauma.
Mhm.
Like people get. Me and a friend were actually just having this conversation like the other day. Like people get comfortable where they're not supposed to be comfortable. Like if you're dealing with someone like abusing you or something,
Mhm.
and it's like, oh well, I can't leave because that's all I know. Or it's like you go into a healthy
Mhm.
relationship and I don't know, the guy or
Feels
girl is like
weird.
treating you correctly. Yeah, like it feels weird. Like you're like, okay, he didn't scream at me because I dropped a cup on the
Mhm.
or like he congratulated me on actually doing something that was like important to me. You know what I mean? So it's like people go into healthy relationships and then they sabotage those because they're like, oh,
It's a big,
well,
big
it's supposed
point in
to be
relationship. Yeah.
toxic. It's not supposed to be healthy because I'm
Yep.
used to toxic.
Yep.
Now that I'm healthy, it's like, ew, I don't like this. It's weird. I want to
Yep.
be comfortable in the
Very real.
toxic. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's like, it's something that you really, really, really have to work on getting out of because trauma bonds are serious.
Yeah.
Mm.
People don't think they're serious, but they are very serious. So are soul ties.
Mhm.
That is so serious, and people don't get it. Like every person you sleep with, like you're connected to.
Mhm.
They have a piece of you.
Mhm.
So it's like you're saying, like eventually you will start acting like them.
Yeah.
Because now you're that person.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna attract people that are like that person and then like you because you're acting like them. So those people, everyone you're attracting is seeing that trait. So then they're coming to you.
Mhm.
So it's like she was saying, like you have to dig deeper because now you're like, well, that's not me.
Right.
So now I gotta figure out where
Or
this is coming from.
part is not me.
Yeah, this little tiny
This
piece,
little
that's
piece
a part of
that I
another
don't
person.
put out there.
Yeah.
Whoa, I don't recognize her.
Yeah.
But,
Like this is different. This is weird. Like
Right.
I don't know. I don't like it.
And what about in the context of relationships? Are you what you attract?
Honestly, in my opinion, yes. Like if you're used to dudes that or women,
Mhm.
because you're here. Like if you're used to people who talk down on you
Right.
or like don't do anything for you, degrade you, like stuff like that. Then when someone comes and they like disrespect you and you just like, okay, cool, you like let it happen,
Mhm.
then that person's gonna be like, okay, well I can keep doing this because they allowed it. So it's like, in a way, yes.
Mm.
Yep.
Would you? Okay, so let's just say hypothetically you meet somebody and they aren't kind to you.
Mhm.
Do you think that would mean that you aren't kind
absolutely not.
kind person?
I was gonna say not all the time because sometimes you could be killing the person with kindness and they're still like, "F you," blah blah blah, like whatever they have to say.
Mhm.
Sometimes, not always, but sometimes. Like I'm trying to find an example.
Mm.
Like just I don't know. Like say you're rude to somebody and then they're rude back to you,
Yeah.
and then y'all become friends or something because it's like, okay, well, we're both rude, so might as well.
Right. So what do you think? Okay, so because I think when people are like most relationships
Mhm.
or at least dating experiences fail, Like, I think if the goal is ultimately to find somebody and be with somebody long term, right? Like, you think you've dated 2 or 3 people. Like, if it didn't end in that, then you could technically count that as a failure, right? So when people come together, right? And if you are what you attract, if a person comes into your life and, like you said, maybe you allow certain things to go on, you don't set the right boundaries, right? What is it about you that accepted that behavior that we feel like relates back to the fact that you were attracted to them? And maybe that's a part of something about that must agree with you if you found it good enough to try,
Yeah.
right?
I think, because when she was talking is when I kind of came to a revelation of you are not fully what you attract. Because going back to kind of like my statement of you are everybody that's in your life, even God. Like, because God is love, so part of you is love, but not fully because we're on earth. So we're not perfect, right?
Yep.
So we're all going to be struggling with something until we kind of like go into the next life. But I think to an extent, we are what we attract, but we also are what we allow, right? Because if you're allowing even the negative qualities about a person to stay in your life, you will eventually be okay with that kind of characteristic, and that will also be a part of you. So even like energy, like you were talking about, like with sex and stuff like that, like a part of that person is a part of you. So
Yeah.
we are what we attract, but we are what we allow.
Yeah. Have you ever given relationship or dating advice to a friend that might have asked you, like, "Hey, what do you think about this person?" Or and you felt like you didn't necessarily want to tell them, you were like, "Yo, that's you though." Like, you were like, "That's
the person was
exactly
like,
like
"Oh,
it
I
reminds me of you."
this."
You know what I mean? Like, have you ever been in that situation? Has it been?
Yeah, but I'm blunt though. Like, I'll tell you, like, if one of my friends comes up to me and is like, "Hey, like, I've been with this dude or whatever, and I don't like this about him," I'm gonna straight up tell him, I'm like, "Well, you do that." So that's just me though. Like, if we're like really good friends, like we're comfortable, like I'm a legit tell him, like, that's you though, sweetheart. Like, you do that. So I'm like, okay, if you don't like it, then you know, it's really up to you. Like, are you going to let that person stay in your life? Or are you going to correct yourself and then tell them about it so they can correct it? You know what I mean? Like, that's just me though. Like, I would tell them because I'd be like, that's something I would want to work on, you know? But I have good enough friends that will tell me too.
Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but I've learned not to even ask advice from friends or anyone that's just not in a position or hasn't been in a position where I want to be at anymore. Learn that because of experience, but also understanding that I have given advice that I don't even take myself.
That's kind of
So who am I to tell you how to move in a situation that if I was in your situation, I don't even think I'd listen to myself. So my friends have asked me for advice, and I'd be like, girl, like I've told you 1,000,001 times, like to switch it up, and you're like, oh. But I've also been that person in the same shoes, like, yeah, you told me so. I should have listened. Chose not to. But I also understood as as time went by that I should have just listened to myself and my gut, but also I should have been asking different people, not the ones who are in the same boat as me, or probably not even in that boat at all.
The
never
big
even
relationship
been in that
topic
boat.
right there. Yeah, that's a good relationship point.
Like, not even trying to get off topic, but I have in that situation. Yes, I'm like, okay, you should probably do something else a few too many times, and they chose not to listen. But in reality, I couldn't be as fully honest with them because I knew that they wouldn't be able to take it. Just like how if someone was to tell me something, I probably would have gotten defensive and deflected and been like, oh, well, you don't understand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I'm glad you said that because that's to me.
It's too real.
Yeah.
But that's not talked about enough. Like, we don't talk about how we deflect and how we don't know how to take advice. Like, it's about knowing how to take something.
Yeah.
Can't just dish it out but not take it.
Right. Yeah.
A lot.
So I don't even ask. I don't even talk to my friends about, like, the relationship I have right now is, I would say, is public but private. I'm not going to tell y'all what's going on. but y'all will see us. Like, it's not a secret.
I was gonna
It's
say
just
private, but not secret.
it's not a secret, but I don't feel the need to share because I know that I've already gone back and forth with this person. Too many people already know that I've gone back and forth with this person. Let me just enjoy it, understand this person, understand if it works for us, us too, because
Not
we're the ones that have
everyone
to live
else.
with each other.
Very dangerous
eventually.
letting people into your relationship.
Yeah, and there's too many opinions. Whoa, like if
Well,
we
girl,
had, if
I
I had,
do this.
if I had 5 therapists in front of my face and I told them the same thing and asked them for advice, do you think they would tell me the same thing?
They're all gonna say something different.
Something different.
Yeah,
Like, they're not God.
at all.
So you think I'm supposed to just listen to one person's, like, and have this person have this much influence on my life just because they're a therapist? Like, so if you think about that, someone who's a professional telling me to do something, imagine like 5 friends, apparently they're therapists. If you put it in that
experts,
sense,
right? Yeah,
right,
friends
like
always experts.
They're supposed to tell me
In
how
everything.
how to move in a relationship, how to move in this situation. They're not even licensed, and someone who's licensed is gonna say something different than all these other people. That doesn't make any sense. Why are we listening or having people have such big influences in our lives? Like, so you are who you hang. Be careful who you spend your time with.
Yeah.
It really all just, that's what it boils down to.
Right.
But if we really want to get into faith, like we really talk about our relationship with God and how
'Cause you
that
know,
should be
that goes
us
on for
enough.
I know.
So, but yeah.
I'm glad you said what you said though, right? Because I think we were talking with the example of kind. I think that like there's a surface level thing that happens with people, right? It's like, oh, if you in other words, everybody experiences stress, but everybody will express that stress differently, or they will come out differently, right? So kindness, for instance, if you are with someone or you're attracted a certain kind of personality that's not kind, right? Kindness might not necessarily be the overlap in the Venn diagram, so to speak. It could be something deeper than that you are relating to, right? That you just happen to express a different way. So maybe they're not kind, but maybe you get angry often, right? And so I don't think it's necessarily that it has to be the expression that we are saying, well, I wasn't like that. That's not who I am, right? Like, but it's something much deeper, right, than that.
Yeah.
Shadow work.
I think that comes with like discernment too, because like I have so many people that I've like, but it's so hard to explain to people sometimes. But it's like certain people I'll meet and I'll immediately be like, no. Like they could be so sweet to me, so nice, this, that, and the third, and I'm still like, there's something like not clicking about, you know what I mean? Like there's certain encounters that I've had where I'm like, you're nice right now, but I'm like, I don't even know what it is.
I don't
like,
trust
Mercy
you.
said something about the gut,
like,
right?
there's something
I've
about
had
you that I'm like,
experiences.
Yeah.
but I've always turned out to be right.
No, I don't want to
Always.
try not to be right. I want to know what's going on.
I've always turned out to
You
be right.
really
'Cause I'm
want to
like,
dig deeper.
I knew it. Like I started going crazy.
I don't
bro,
even
'cause I'm
want to
like, I
know,
knew it.
like say I knew it. I just want to make sure I'm confident in this person.
Mm-hmm.
You're never gonna truly know a person, if I'm being honest, because we're always changing. There's always gonna be some type of experience in your life that's gonna warp somebody into a whole new being. Like I'm not saying fully new, because there's no way that you can remove your past self. That past self is still going to be within you, but it's just in the background. Like, it's creating you into this new person or this better version of you. I guess you can say Mercy 2.0, right?
Yeah.
But I've had experiences where there was a man who literally told me, God said that, or I know that God said that you are my wife.
Did he tell me that though? That's what I hate. It's like, did he tell me?
I don't even want to go back to my trauma. But my trauma stories, I've had some experiences, but this one guy, and this was last year, the man literally was like, you're my wife. Like God said, you're my wife, was so hell-bent that our God, apparently my God too, because I was like, I don't know if your God is my God, bro.
We haven't
God
talked
may
that far
have
yet.
told you, but God didn't give me
He didn't
any
tell
inkling
me.
at all. Any inkling at all. But he was so serious and so like hell-bent on the idea that I was his wife or his future wife, that man was ready to give me his debit card. Man was ready to move to a whole different state. man was attached to me by the hip, was willing to see me every single day, like was really in tears. I would wake up, he's awake in tears because he just couldn't believe his believe his reality that I'm
Mhm.
like in
First
his
sight.
life. Bro, it was a little, I was a little worried, I can't
Strange.
lie. It was
Yeah.
very strange, but in that moment I looked past all of that because when I was accepting that, I was accepting those little weird like red flags, all because he was so kind and he was so like gentle with me, so giving, so willing.
Yeah.
Like his acts of services were kind of like what over clouded, or it clouded all the judgment of me just actually looking at the bigger picture.
Mhm.
If I took a step back, I was like,
When did he tell you that? Like, God told me that you're my wife.
bro, he was saying I love you after 2 weeks of knowing me.
Mm.
Bro was in deep from day one of our first date. Oh, trauma. All I can say is God is so good. It ended really bad. I can't lie. Man sent me an essay kind of saying that I don't know how to love a good man of God. He put God into everything.
Mhm.
Imagine you having a text message and it's like this small with an arrow. You click the arrow, it's a full page. Like
they
I'm
can
not.
do that.
I'm
Must be an iPhone thing.
scrolling at least like 7 full scroll 7, 8 times.
Wow.
Love his name at the very end of it, just to tell me that I don't know how to love a good man of God and that I have all this potential of being a good woman of God, but I'm just not there yet.
Mm.
All because I
She's
said
like-
I don't want to be in this anymore because
Yeah.
you know it's just too much, right?
He's like love bombing. Like,
It was
eventually
love
it was gonna
bombing.
turn into something
Mhm.
way
It
worse.
was love bombing, but like kind of like you are what you attract in a sense of
Mhm.
I think I was in that moment attracting kindness, but also delusional
Mhm.
because I didn't know who I truly was,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
because if
It's
I
that
don't
level
know
deeper I
who
was talking about.
like
The
this
delu-
is
yeah.
some reflecting that I can say like I'm doing at this moment because
Mhm.
you're allowing in this moment or just this conversation is allowing me to think a little bit more
Mhm.
about just the people in my life in the past and why I allowed them to stay.
Mhm.
Because if you're allowing somebody to stay in your life, you're okay with that in yourself, right? With
Yep.
yourself.
Yep.
Because if you didn't allow somebody to be in your life, like there are certain things that you're just not going to like abide by. You're not going to live with. So I think I was just allowing like confusion in my life.
Mhm.
Or I guess maybe I was a little confused. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
So in a
100%.
certain way, like it was correlating.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep. That's
and
kind
a
of what I
whole
meant.
bunch more.
Yeah, just that if you are sure,
Yeah,
you're gonna be comfortable dating people who aren't sure.
right.
Right? Like it's just a comfortable place. Well, I'm not sure. Well, I'm not sure either. Perfect.
Right.
Great.
We
Like,
will figure it out
exactly.
together.
Exactly. And
Right.
it's a
Not
train
someone
wreck every
who's
time.
Like, I am so in love with you. You're like, oh,
Right.
I don't think I am with
I
you.
don't
Right.
think I'm in love with myself.
Right.
So
Exactly.
How could you possibly?
be
Yeah.
in love with?
You gotta make 2 + 2 = 4, sweetheart. 'Cause it's
Exactly.
even 8.
Because
Okay.
right now I believe it's 6. What do you
Right.
think it is?
I'm not sure what's going on.
At what point do you think people? Because there's time. There's a time
Yeah.
element to it, right? Like
Yeah.
you date for 2 years. In that period of dating, you've dated 2 or 3 people, 3 or 4
Mhm.
people, right? And we've all seen this. Maybe we're guilty of it, right? You feel like you're dating the same person, or you fall into the same traps, right? If you are what you attract, then at what point do people go, I'm the common denominator,
Mm.
right? And how do I get out of this, right? How do I
You're the
stop?
problem.
Right.
How do I
And this
get
could go
out?
into a relationship conversation for sure. Like I
Yeah.
would love to dig into like
Mhm.
some what we were saying about your experience.
Mhm.
But at what point do you feel like people go, oh, okay, like there's something I have to do?
I think it's
Or
like a
something I have to
certain type of
change.
Heartbreak.
Mm,
Like eventually you
Mm.
go through being with so many like different people, and then you go through like a certain type of heartbreak to the point where you're like, wait a minute.
This is the same thing that keeps happening.
Exactly. That's when you're like, oh, okay.
Mhm.
Well, my ex, he cheated on me this many times. That ex cheated on me this many times. This current ex cheated on me this many times.
mhm.
So then it's like, okay, well, now you got to look at yourself.
What
and be
are
like,
you
maybe
Great
I
example.
am the
Then what do you think? That
problem,
is a good
like-
question. What do you think in the cheating example?
because that's
What do you think it
that's a
is?
specific
Yeah.
example. So it's
Mm.
What do you think? Because I think that happens often. I think of all the things that anyone can point to, it's probably like, oh, I keep, for whatever reason, dating cheaters. And what people would say, and this is again a relationship thing, it's like what people would say is it's like, well, it's clearly them.
Everyone
Like
says that.
it's everybody else,
Yeah.
right? Like like so like what? But
Never me.
right, but if you were to
Never
do
me.
the
But
reflection,
that's a good one.
what
A lot
would
of
it?
people wouldn't take ownership of that
Yeah.
being their problem.
Right.
Yeah, like sometimes people do things that make people be like, okay, well, I don't want to be with you anymore. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Not even
Not
that.
saying cheating is right.
Or just even
but-
saying like, well, it seems like she's just delulu, so I can just do whatever I want.
Mhm.
Like, all right, bro.
Right.
She gonna keep coming back anyways. That's what
Right.
most dudes say. All or women,
Or
like, they
just
say all the
forgiveness.
time.
Like you're just so forgiving.
Mhm.
So, oh, if I do this, maybe
You
it's
can be
not-
forgiving, but you can also kick that person out of your life. You know what I mean?
But the thing is,
Mhm.
like, if again, just like how you said, this person cheated on me this many times, right?
Mhm.
Even if that girl didn't know or guy didn't know, because it could go either way. Even if they didn't know that their significant other was cheating on them, they could have. They're still the person that's cheating is still doing it
Mhm.
off of the idea that it's okay,
Mhm.
or they're not going to get caught, or they're not going to get in trouble, or my person is just I
They're
don't
fine.
know, like just something in their mind is causing them to think that that's allowed, that it's possible, that it's okay.
Mhm.
Because if you were with somebody who was like absolutely not,
Mhm.
like, you know, like you would need to have, let's say for an example, if you're with a really big Christian girl, like she loves God and she shows it, she would have the discernment,
Mhm.
right? So you really just have to have the characteristics of a person, just not even tolerating that, to be in that. Not saying that it's going to be perfect, because there's been people that have been cheated on, but if it's consecutive, like there are characteristics that person has that they need to fix.
Yep.
To be able to get out of a situation of just constantly getting cheated on by different people.
Yep.
Yeah, like,
Yep.
Right, versus
Same
it just
situation,
happening
like-
one time.
Right.
Yeah, versus it just
that's
happening
when I
one
feel like
time.
people really start to realize stuff is when it's like the same thing.
Mhm.
Because, you know, something can happen once.
Yeah.
Right. And then the person's just like, okay, well, it wasn't me. Like it's something else that has to do with them, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
Right.
But if you're consistently dealing with the same stuff over and over again, then that's when it's like, okay, you need to sit down and be like, this is me.
Right.
I'm the problem. Like,
Right.
I'm the common denominator. Like, there's
Right.
something I'm doing that's just like, I want to use an example, but I don't want to expose.
A good example is
it's
like,
like-
yeah, if you're studying for a math test and you fail it 5 times, you probably just don't know
It's
the
probably you.
you
It's
probably
not
don't know the
teacher,
the
you
math.
know? Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to give like a good example, like something that's good. Like, you know, like if you're always if you're always surrounded by drama or something
Mhm.
like that, right? Sometimes you gotta sit back and be like,
For me, I can
maybe I'm
my,
the one in it.
right.
Mhm.
My perfect example is just me always being late. Maybe I should just get ready at an earlier time. That's
a
like my biggest thing.
procrastinator.
Oh God, please help me, because that I need to work on that for real. I'm always 5 minutes, maybe 8, working on it. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
but I cannot get out of bed to save my life, especially in the morning. Sorry to my early morning clients. I'm really trying my best here.
Same.
Um,
To my girl D. See you tomorrow.
Love you guys so much. I'm working on it. It's just, getting out of bed, not pressing snooze. That's a
Yeah.
common denominator.
Yeah.
I know I need to wake up earlier.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about someone who is consistently and constantly dating a cheater? What do you think it is? Is it about them that they
Mm.
keep attracting that
I'm
type
not a
of personality?
Therapist.
I was gonna say, to be
I
honest,
wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know. You know, I feel like it
Mhm.
would be just mainly because, like I was saying earlier, like they're comfortable.
Mhm.
Like they might know someone's a cheater, but be like, oh, that whole crowd was like, I can change him. You know, like people
That's
actually generally
insane.
have that mindset.
Right.
So it's like it could be that where they're like going into it like, I can change them. Like
Mhm.
they won't be a cheater anymore, sweetie. No, you can't.
Right.
It's literally a them problem. Like you got to figure out how to change them. Like that's when it does play a role because it's like that's you. Like
Mhm.
you know this person's a cheater, but you're like, or like when she's talking about forgiving. Like when you forgive someone, like
Mhm.
some people you need to forgive in silence.
Mhm.
Because if you go up to a certain person who hurts you and like forgive them like openly, like they might be like, okay, well, since they forgave me, I'm gonna go do it again because they already forgave me. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, there's certain people that you have to be like, okay, I forgive them. I'm moving on. Cool. Person's no longer in my life, or I'm distancing myself. Like, you know, like at some point you have to make the choice and be like, I am the one who's allowing this.
Mhm.
Because something I personally realized is like, we do play a role in our own suffering.
For sure.
Like, I'll just have to be deep, go into a little bit of trauma.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Like when my ex like husband was like abusing me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had so many chances to leave. Like, so, and I'll be so honest with people. I had so many chances to leave. And like so many people that were initially trying to help, but gave up
Mm-hmm.
because I was always like protecting him because I was comfortable. Because I was like, okay, well, you know, he might abuse me here, but then, you know, we have like our sweet little cuddle session at the end of the day. Like, that's what I'm looking forward to. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
it was, I played a role in it because I had the chance to stop him.
Right.
I just didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, no one ever looks at themselves when it comes to certain situations. Or you have to listen to the outside people that are always like, it's not your fault. Okay, well, maybe some part of it was. Maybe I did something that made it my fault and I could have actually fixed this.
At the very least, you accepted it.
Yeah, like there's certain things that you, if you had to just been like, hey, I have this boundary, you know what I'm saying? Like, something that has always bothered me is what I think is what you were kind of saying. Like, when it comes to initially attracting a person, then finding out something different about them in the end comes with boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, if you had to set up those boundaries in the beginning,
It wouldn't have been in your life.
exactly, that person probably would have never even been there in the
Let's
first
talk about
place.
boundaries, bro.
Mhm.
You
because
know?
I
I think that really plays a role into,
Yep.
you know, you are what you attract. Because it's like, if I had said I had this boundary at the beginning and didn't wait, because sometimes it's not the other person's fault. Like, if I sit here,
my fault.
exactly. Like,
I
I'm like,
let
I'm-
them in
I had a
my
boundary
life.
with this, but
That's
I didn't tell
They
you
had-
9 months ago.
They had no shirt on. I still let them walk in the house. Who told you you could be in my house shirtless?
Like,
well, you let
literally,
me.
You
in.
let me. It's your fault now.
You're silly. You literally saw me with no shirt, skin, 6-pack, titties out. You still let me walk in
Titty
the door,
Tuesday.
and then as soon as you blink twice, you're like, "Whoa!"
Wait a minute.
You're acting like I'm the one that just walked in here
Mm-hmm.
without you knowing. You let me in the
Like,
house.
you
Mm.
allowed
You
it.
opened the door. I
Mhm.
rang the
That's what
doorbell.
people don't
The door was
understand.
locked.
You had a key.
You had a key.
You had a key.
You unlocked the door.
Like,
you
this is-
opened
this is on
it,
you.
saw me, said hi, give me a hug, felt the skin on my
Jesus.
body.
Yeah.
Then had me walk in, gave me a drink. Then when you blinked twice, you
You're like,
realized you act like you just got hit by a car. You lost your memory for a sec. I'm right
I
here.
can't.
I've been
PTSD.
here. What happened?
Like, that's what people don't get.
That's
That's
how
the
I
hard
be-
truth.
I'm the
Hard
problem.
truth.
I am that. I'm her.
Yeah.
I'm guilty. Look, I'm her.
It's me.
I'm
It's
the
me.
problem.
Not her, the
because
singer, guys.
My boundaries sucked.
Same. Yeah, we've talked about this.
My
We
boundaries
suck at
sucked.
boundaries. Suck.
Oh my gosh, we were talking about our relationship.
Mhm.
Like,
Why we like are the way we are with certain men. Like, and what's crazy is we had
I
to hear
love
this
this.
from another man.
I love this, by the way.
What?
And this
We
is
had to hear,
100.
like,
that
yeah.
you're-
coming to a revelation
that's
right now?
well, it's
This
because
is why you perfectly put us together.
this
'cause-
is honestly one of the secret, one of the not a secret but not so secret,
Mhm.
really, right? It's in broad daylight, really, but people just refuse because people have a hard time accepting hard truths. People have a hard
Yeah.
time accepting something negative about themselves.
Mhm.
But I'm big on accountability.
Me too.
Thank you.
High five,
Massive.
air five.
If like there is like
Cheers.
that to me, like there is, if you can figure out how to be accountable
Yeah.
for whatever part you play, right? Like I want to be
Mhm.
responsible for my successes, but also my failures. Like I'm that level of accountable. Like if I did,
Yeah.
if something went wrong in my life, I want to know. I want to know. I
What
know
did
that
I
it was me,
do?
right?
Thank
Right.
you. And I think that's what people don't get because every time anything goes wrong, everyone's always like, well,
Woe is me.
15 years ago when my grandma was put into the
Right.
grave, how many grandmas do you have?
First of all,
Right.
Because you said
why
9
are
years
you
ago
talking
one
about
died too.
15? Why is it relating even that far?
Thank you.
That lets
I
me
hear that
know you
all
have
the time.
not been healing.
Healed.
And I've been
Are
doing
you
any work
okay?
whatsoever.
How are
No
you
work
functioning
whatsoever.
right
Like you're
now?
you're causing all these problems, but it's because of your grandma? Are you serious?
That
It just makes me
pothole
mad.
should have been filled years ago. Why is that pothole still there? And you have to
Takes
drive
y'all
over
20
that
years.
pothole every single day.
And you don't get it
Right.
yet. Like I don't. That's what doesn't get me because it's like people don't realize that we play a role in our own problems. Like
Mhm.
you don't have to sit here and be like, well, when I was 12 years old, my daddy came.
It's like,
Understandable. Your
Mhm.
trauma's valid.
it's
Right.
like having a
it's very
leak and you're
valid.
in this house
Mhm.
and you let the leak like just keep
Flood
leaking.
your house.
Mhm.
And you knew
but
about it.
imagine it's like a drop
Mhm.
every hour droplet. And you let that fester for like 15 years. And then you're wondering why your roof collapsed. Excuse me?
You're like in bed, the roof. You're like,
It's right over your head too. Imagine it being over your bed.
Yes.
Oh yeah, my bed is just infested.
You know
Sir,
what's
how long did you have this problem?
cockroaches.
You know what's so funny though? What people will then
Bedbugs.
do is they'll go, the people who built this house,
They are the
they
problem.
they
They're the
didn't build it
problem.
right.
Like,
Sorry,
yeah, I knew
they
about
built
the
it and they
leak, but
left. They built it and they moved on with their life.
They left that hole
You're
there,
the one that has to live here.
so it would leak. It's their fault.
They'd be like, oh, my ex
It's not
put a
my
hole in that
problem, I'm
roof.
homeless.
Like they did it.
Bro,
It's
just
funny.
admit that you needed therapy and you never went.
You're the Lulu. Like
Right.
You never
you kept
went.
saying, I don't hear any droplets as it dropped on your face. Like, make
It's
it make sense.
But
life is
I'm
really
also her.
ten-
I'm the
yeah.
problem as well.
Me.
I do that. I had it leaking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The roof collapsed, and I still was like, "Whoa, what's going on?
This wasn't me.
Yep.
Who built the home?"
Right, exactly.
That's what I was like.
And
who
it's yours.
started
And
that?
it's
That's the
yours to
reflecting
take
that I'm
care
trying
of.
to-
Like when you have
That's-
responsibility, because accountability and responsibility go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Right. Like if
You
it's your
should
home,
have-
you have to take care of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you should have taken care of your mind, gotten your mental right. Once you got your mental right, you'll understand who you are. And
Mm-hmm.
then once you understand who you are, you understand what you will and will not allow in your
Exactly.
life, what you will and will not allow in people, and
Mhm.
what you will and will not allow in relationships. And that will
Mhm.
help you just better be able to move in life. Like there's a lot of people that are kind, a lot of people that are good in this life, but there's only a few that make the most sense for you.
Mhm.
Like for me, terrible person to like reach out to just to stay in contact. Like if I
Mm.
don't see you on a regular, like let's say we see each other at the gym,
Mhm.
probably won't hear from me for a while
Yeah.
because I'm a very in the moment kind of person, and I just like order.
Mhm.
So imagine me just having like 5 hours at home. I want to be in silence. I don't want to get on FaceTime. You won't get a call from me. That's my
Yeah,
me time. But
I'm the
that's
same
like
way.
every day.
Right.
So
Yeah.
because I am that kind of person, I want to have friendships that I don't have to see you all the time. It could be 3 months. I reach out,
Yes.
hey girl,
Let's
catch me
get
up.
Like, let's do some
Has it really been
brunch.
3 years already?
You have a baby?
Oh,
my
baby,
God.
yeah, girl. I done got married too. I wasn't even invited to the wedding. Okay, maybe that's a little dramatic.
Yeah,
but
that's what.
that's a little dramatic. But like 3 months, like you haven't talked to them, and they're working, they're busy, they probably
Mhm.
got in and out of a relationship, toxic one, and then y'all
Mhm.
catch up and you talk about it. Like that's the kind of friendships I need to have because I'm like that, and I'm okay with space. I
Yes.
need actually.
That's the
I-
kind of friendships
it's
I
essential.
have.
I
Yeah.
need. And the friends that it's okay if you want to talk every day. Cool, you can have those friends, but those are like besties, family.
Mhm.
But I just understood that about myself, and I'm okay. If anything, I want more friendships
Mhm.
like that. So
Yeah.
I get that. I
Learn
literally have
that.
friendships like that. One of my friends, I'm gonna shout him out, Jeremiah. If you're watching this,
Aw,
bro,
shout out to him.
we've been friends for like a decade, and we've always been like that. Like we won't talk for like months, and then
Mhm.
come back like nothing ever happened, and just be talking like, yeah, bro, I was doing this. Oh, how's you and your girl? You guys just moved into a place, like stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like we don't have to talk to each other all the time. We don't have to see each other all the time, but we still know we're good friends.
Right.
Like if we
Mhm.
do see something, we're like, oh, okay, that doesn't seem like them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then that's when we reach out and be like, hey,
Right.
bro, like, are you good? Like, just checking up on you, stuff like that. But
Right.
I'm the same way. Like, you do not have to be in my bubble.
And that's why we get
20
along.
That's
That's
why.
why.
Like, that's what we're
Because we
supposed-
didn't
we
even
don't
have to
do that.
say that out loud because
But we do.
Understood.
as I was going through friendships or just getting to know people when I was younger,
Mhm.
like I don't reach out to them for like a few weeks. I say hi. Mind you, they didn't reach out to me. I'm not
Exactly.
counting those days though. I'm
Right.
chilling.
Mhm.
I reach out to them. Hey, how you been? Oh, stranger danger. Excuse me.
Now you're cut off.
That's why. Now you're cut off. 'Cause who told you I was a
We will never
stranger?
talk again.
Exactly.
Why does it
You
have
have
to
a
be,
phone
why does it have to
too.
be dangerous? First of all,
I didn't know T-Mobile only worked on one phone.
like the phone works
All
both
right.
ways, and then I come to I eventually found out that those people either had a crush on me because it was the men, the male species.
Mm-hmm.
If the
FYI, that
chooses
was that was potentially the topic
The
when we
male
talked
species.
earlier.
But
Yeah,
we'd be here
that
for like
was
3.5 hours.
talking
so-
nonsense.
Part
Just
two, we can
talking
do it.
about-
Just yip yapping.
So they suck. This is why they suck. I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about why they suck and how they have zero brain cells.
But before you guys get your feeling hurt, not all men.
It's
Okay.
just a few of y'all.
Just a few.
There we
Maybe
go.
majority.
There's
It's
hope.
like a select percentage. I can't give you that
You
percentage.
know,
'cause
I
don't
can't
know
give you
yet.
the numbers because I don't know the
Right, I don't know the
statistics. But
Figure
this
that
is
out,
a
figure
certain
it out.
Part two. We'll do
Yeah.
that. We'll do that
Next
next time.
vid.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was saying though. I can't lie.
Yeah.
Short memory.
Oh God.
My,
See, this is our problem. We have to get this right.
No, it's
Edit this
good.
part out.
I think it's in. What do you think? How do you get people to recognize that it might be them? Right? Like, how do you get people if you attract what you are?
hmm
Right? How do you? What do you feel like would be steps to get them to? And you said earlier, like, I'm not a therapist, right? I think this is the crucial. Right.
I have.
I
It's
want
just
to.
not.
Right.
She
But
ended up
better
being a
help. Can y'all
racist.
lower your prices, please? Lower it, please. Okay, I
Yeah, 'cause
want
why
to
are we
join,
charging $200 an hour?
but
I
I'm
get
not paying
but
for another
still.
car note. I'm not doing
it.
Mhm.
I'm not paying a car.
That's not what I wanted.
Right. But I think it is crucial though to know, right? Like it's very crucial to know, even if you have to get counseling from a pastor, for instance, right? You mentioned earlier, like it took a guy to tell you that
Mhm.
like it's probably some things that you might be doing that are right. You can speak to people and they can give you wisdom in such a way that can trigger something in your mind that helps you to
Yeah.
recognize
Mhm.
and see what they're seeing when
Yeah.
they right. And so sometimes that could just be a simple conversation, but I think it's crucial to know what it is, right? So if you are the type of person when you go like, well, how do you? Because if we're honest, like I think all of us have these potential traits in us, right? Like all of us can get defensive.
Oh yeah.
All of us can feel
stand
all of these
there,
things,
doing
right?
it.
So-
I was doing it today.
Right. So the question is like, well, if you feel like you can get to the point where you can identify, because it sounds like you guys have gotten to that point, right? Like where you're recognizing like, hey, accountability, right? Well, that's like step one. It's like you need to be able to recognize and be accountable
Yeah. or
to
not.
something, right? So if you recognize that much, right, then it seems like you're on the right path to be able to, if you have a friend that's like that, to be able to tell them like, hey, this is what it is. And this is
Yeah.
probably how you start the journey to
Mhm.
change and become something different, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like it depends on the friendship, but also I feel like that helps you get to a certain deeper type of friendship.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, just say someone has like a certain trait, they tell you they don't like somebody because they have that same trait. You know, like if you're good friends, you should be able to be like, okay, well, I see that trait in you too. Like maybe
Mhm.
that's why you don't realize it that you don't like them, but you don't like she was saying, you don't like that about yourself. You know what I mean? Like
That
I
might
feel like if you
sting
have a good
bit.
friendship, like, because we can do that. Like, if I
Whoa.
told her that,
Whoa.
maybe
whoa.
you to me.
whoa.
Like, if I were to tell her, like, hey, girl, I don't like this dude and why he does this, I feel like she would be like, girl, you do that too.
Well, I don't know if I don't even know if I've ever done that with
I feel
anyone.
like you could to me, though.
I
'cause
don't know if I've
understand
done that
it.
with anyone, but I feel like my level. Ooh, the beads. They dangled.
Here she
But since
goes.
I'm already here, let me just move this over.
The first time, show off the hair real quick, guys.
And they can see.
For
They
the
can see
back.
it. They can see
The
it.
goddess
angle.
It's fresh.
brand,
It's fresh.
Her. Yeah. Anyway, but going back to my point, what was I saying?
Talking about the traits that you might be like, hey, she said,
Right.
you
I
feel
don't
like
know
we
if
can.
I've gotten to that level yet in friendships because, ooh, you know,
She
I
said,
feel like us as
That's a
humans,
good
we are
question.
sensitive.
That's what I say. That's a good question.
But I have gotten there with relationships.
yeah.
Because I feel like if I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you, I'm going to tell you about yourself. And if I don't like it, I'm going to tell you about yourself.
Mhm.
And if I know that you need to fix something, I'm going to tell you that you need to fix this because
Mhm.
I'm not dealing with it. And I know that you have a lot of potential to be great. So I'm
Mhm.
going to tell you what I feel like you need to work on so we can be better. Because
Mhm.
if you can't work on this, there's no point in us like growing together because
Mhm.
that just lets me know you're not willing to grow, right?
What's your limit? Like, what would it have to be, right? Because there's things that like you could probably put up with. It's like, that's probably just something I could probably deal with
Yeah,
long
yeah.
term.
Yeah.
But then there's other things that you might be like, no, this is a deal breaker.
I feel
Right.
like it's like for me at least, bad habits. I'm fine. Like if I see you have a habit, we all have habits.
Mhm.
So if I see like you have like certain habits, I'm like, okay, like cool. Like that's just something. That's just them. That's their personality. Like that's what they do. But if I see like, okay, they have this bad habit, maybe it'll go away. You know, see it one time, like cool. But if I see you like consistently, especially if I've
What
like
would be the habit?
Yeah,
Like,
like
I'm
give
trying
me
to figure out.
examples.
Like, yeah.
disrespecting people or like I'm big on like family.
That's not
So if I
no
see you like
habit.
disrespecting your mom consistently,
You're just a terrible
'cause-
human being.
that's,
That's-
true, but that's like stuff for me that I'm like, no. I've
Yeah.
always told people like the way a person treats their parents
Yeah.
Mhm.
is how they're gonna treat
So
you.
would you just say level of consistency with something?
Yes, like
that you just
certain
don't
things.
like?
Yeah, I'm like
Right.
if I see
Okay.
certain
You're
things that I
inconsistent.
know I don't like,
Mhm.
then it's like
Right, inconsistency as
Yeah.
well.
Right.
I'm like
So lack of
Right. I asked the question specifically because I'm like, well, what is it? Right. Because the reason why I asked is that because if you first meet someone and you identify that trait, right? Because you were saying like, okay, if you're in a relationship and you get to
Yeah.
a point where you're just like, okay, well, I need you to work on this thing, right?
Right.
If that trait is in them, it's probably was in them in the beginning.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
what do you
So what
think
made
it
you miss
is?
it?
Yeah, exactly. So would you like?
I don't
It wouldn't
think
get to
it's
the point. You know what I mean?
necessarily like I missed it,
Mm-hmm.
but
they might not have shown it either.
they might had not have been consistent with it, right?
Mhm.
So someone can like do something and it not be like it just it's just they did it one time.
Mhm.
Okay, they do it a second time. That's why I keep saying like it takes time for you to actually get to know somebody, understand someone. So you shouldn't be moving in with someone after 6 months. Let's talk
Mhm.
about it. Like get
Um,
to know them. I know you're in a rush. You don't want to pay for rent. I get that. But
Let
like,
me-
You don't
Let me
remember it.
let me give you an
Never had
example
that.
real fast because I want you to continue your thought, but I want to throw this in
Right.
there. So, for instance, let's just use an example you gave about you, right? So let's just
Yeah.
say someone was dating you and they were like, "Oh, Mercy's always late. 5 minutes, always late." Right? That's something you see
I
immediately,
expose myself. Excuse my language.
right? So the question is like, okay, well, if I was to get into a relationship with Mercy,
Hmm.
does that show a sign of inconsistency? And would it be enough information to be like, I probably shouldn't date or move further with this person?
I feel like
right?
it's what a person's willing to allow.
Mhm.
I think it just starts off with that because with each individual, I feel like we're all going to have traits that other people aren't gonna like. Like when you get to I've understood like just knowing how people that are married are like
Mhm.
all my clients women.
Mhm.
I love them to death because they give me a lot of advice. But
Mhm.
I ask them questions constantly about like, how did you get to know your husband? How is your husband? How did y'all meet? Like, what made you want to just stick around, like get married? And they've all just told me like, it takes work, girl. Like
Mhm.
you're gonna have to accept a lot. They said like 90% or 95 is just compromising. And
Mhm.
I didn't really understand that until I got into my most recent relationship.
Mhm.
And I was like, wait, okay, I see what you're talking about now because I had to really compromise with this person once I realized they're like this. Like, let's say he started off a certain way, and I was like, I don't know, like you're tripping a little bit.
Mhm.
But even me, like I was tripping, but I didn't even realize it at the moment. So I was willing to accept the person that he was at the moment to an extent.
Mhm.
And even though I told him like I didn't like a certain thing and he told me like, oh, I don't like this either.
Mhm.
We did like take breaks, but we were like, because we were willing to allow
Mhm.
certain things to like happen, to grow, like we were allowing each other to grow. That's why we stayed, because we cared about the overall picture
Yeah.
of the person that we were as individuals, that we were willing to just be there.
Mhm.
So I think it just takes a level of just like allowing, like
Mhm.
you're okay accepting a person for who they are
Right.
to an extent.
Yeah.
If those traits are like really terrible, of course you're not going to stay. If it's a non-negotiable, I think like every person should have non-negotiables.
Mhm.
Oh, if you worshiping Satan, of course I don't want to immediately know. If you say 666 confidently,
I'm out. Like, have a nice
let me see you
life.
throw
Right.
up the three fingers.
Right.
And
These
we're done.
spirits.
We're done. I will
No,
literally
get
ghost
your
you.
bags.
Right.
I will ghost you.
I'm scared of you.
Like,
no.
leave me alone. there's certain things that it's like,
call 911. I'm calling the
Yeah,
law.
this man right here.
Right.
This man is
Get 'em.
crazy. I don't even
I
know
can't
what
do
made
this
me
anymore.
think. Like, no, like, of
Yeah.
course you're gonna have non-negotiables, but
Back
you
to the
should-
boundaries that you were saying.
boundaries,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
to an extent, as you're getting to know people, you have to really understand what you're willing to accept in a person. Because, you know, I feel like everyone's going to grow. It really
Mhm.
takes certain things to allow them to grow. But I feel like if you might have certain things about yourself that person really admires that they want to get to, just like how he might have something within him that I want to get to. So you can balance each other out to just help each other get to the next level. But I feel like there is no growth if neither one of you have qualities that you're trying to like attain from each other.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I don't know where it's going, but
No.
I think that's all I have.
No, I got you.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I get it. I completely get what she's saying.
Mhm.
But it also like nowadays, that's why it's so hard dating because every time anything goes wrong,
We're so quick to leave.
yes,
Yeah, everyone's
immediately
quick to
everyone's
leave.
like, "Bye, dipping, I'm done." Like,
yeah.
what
Have
do you
y'all
mean?
watched Pop the Balloon on
Mhm.
YouTube?
Dude, have you seen like the dudes like walk in the room and the girls like pop, 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 pop? Like, dang, you didn't even give him a chance to speak.
Okay,
It's
we
good.
get it.
Didn't even
He's
know
5'3",
dude's
but give him a chance.
It's
Like, you might actually, like, he might be your perfect match.
We
But you're
definitely-
like, nope, just because he looks, boom. They say their name, boom. You saw the one girl that literally, like, took down dude from, like, head to toe. Why are you wearing a hat? What's up with the briefcase?
I was
I don't like that
stopping
shirt.
her.
I don't like those pants. Then
I
her
don't
type
like
I
came in
love
and
this
she
so
was like,
much.
"Oh my God."
I love this.
I don't like the way that you wear that flower like that because it's fake and you were trying to make it better than what it was.
What? Like, I literally, my heart broke for him. Because
And
I was
what's
like,
in
how
that
did you judge him
suitcase?
from the outside?
Mhm.
Like, immediately. She didn't give this man a chance.
No, and the man was smart too.
He
Like,
was
she
so
was-
sweet.
she
Like,
pissed
oh
me
my
off.
gosh, she
Yeah.
broke my heart. I would have dated him. I was
I
like,
love-
get on over, sweetheart.
I love this. We definitely have to have that conversation for
Yes,
sure because
'cause,
you
like,
guys are
she- I don't know,
hitting on some
bro.
really
we should
crucial things, and I'm
definitely
like
do,
biting my
we should do
tongue.
reactions.
Yes, like
You
something like that.
totally do a
'cause
reaction.
My reaction to that, like even though I was by myself, my mouth was still like just drop open. I had to like rewind a couple times. I was like,
no, right?
did
I
she
was like,
really
what?
say that? I was
Right.
like, excuse me.
When
Like-
and I think like I say things like when I'm giving it dating advice or I'm talking about the male perspective to my
Yeah.
friends, right? I bring up these kinds of things and I give examples. Like it's a we can get into it for sure. Like I'm over here like yeah, you guys are saying exactly what I would yeah.
We say what we feel.
Yeah.
We say what
He's
we
basically
Yeah.
saying, I get you guys.
He
got
doesn't
it.
want to say it,
I
but he's
got it.
like,
He's
no.
giving us
Because
the
we're
room.
because we're
Yeah,
yeah
that's
we're on
fine.
topic we're
We
on
have the
topic
floor.
but there will be
Do
a
I
part
have the
two.
floor? Is that right?
We are at the mark. Told you it was gonna be
Yeah.
fast.
Damn,
Um,
it
No, right? Like, thing went out. I was
I-
like,
know.
that actually went out like at least 10
Exactly.
minutes
Hourglass, you guys. This is gonna be a prop on the set
He just clears it out.
on the studio set. So
Don't you still have time to see it?
oh yeah, right. That's a lot. We're probably at like one, but it's cool. All right. So we'll give final thoughts
Mhm.
and then we'll close it out. Thank you guys again so much. Go ahead, we'll start with you, Rachel. You're welcome.
I'd say like after the talk, I say initially you are what you attract.
Mm.
However, maybe along the lines, like down later, you might be like, maybe you're not. You get what I'm saying?
Mm,
Like initially, yes, because she was saying we go off of looks. You know, we see what we see first, and then we're like, yes, no, maybe off of looks.
mhm.
But I think it's so much deeper, you know? So I feel like having this talk might change my perspective on things. Like I might look at certain people and be like, I don't know, bro. Like that's and then maybe if I get to know them, I might realize that they might be a person, you know,
Mhm.
like friendship, relationship wise,
Yeah.
you know, whatever you want to call it.
After this conversation, I have come to the conclusion that you are what you attract.
Mhm.
You definitely made that point of just how it can, how characteristics can coexist. Like,
Mhm.
oh, I might not like you for being so loud, but that's because I'm probably loud about my personality.
Mhm. Mhm.
Or does that make sense? But I
Mhm.
don't like how loud I am about my personality. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I feel like you are what you attract. Oh, of course, like initially, but as you get to know somebody, if you're accepting certain things about someone that you don't even like, that's because you're also accepting things about yourself that you don't even like.
Mhm.
And you need to work on that first to be able to kind of not be so, you'll be quick to say no to experiences with people than allowing it to kind of like drag on. So you really have to make sure that you just know who you are 1st
Mhm.
before you actually go out thinking that you can make these great friendships and have this great relationship. If you don't take care of yourself first and your mental health and understand who you are, like understand your boundaries, know who you are, then you'll be able to attract what you want
Mm-hmm.
out of others.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you know that you're not gonna like, you don't want to be loud, you don't want all eyes on you, you won't attract that
Mhm.
because you won't tolerate that. Those people won't
Mhm.
be in your life. But if you're okay accepting that your best friend's gonna be loud and obnoxious and you're not, okay, maybe you need to work on not being loud and obnoxious in other ways. It can be in your home and how you treat other people. Does that make sense? So
Yep, absolutely.
I have come to that conclusion. You are what you attract. Take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That is for sure the
Amen.
truth. I agree with that. Like I completely agree with you guys.
Oh.
Like you definitely are, and if you allow it, then that's just basically yeah.
like
you-
that's who you
that's
are.
that's
what you
clearly
are.
who you yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't say necessarily this much because this can kind of go into the relationship discussion, but it's you also when you have a different mindset and you've changed and you've gone through the necessary healing and you've fixed those things about yourself that would allow for those kinds of things, when you change, you'll also inspire that in other people.
Right.
So if people do come in your life and they have some trait or something about them that you don't like that you would probably have written off before, right, you'll
Mhm.
encourage them to actually be different,
Yeah.
right, which is
so
interesting, right?
You
And-
have to be willing to if you know yourself well, you won't be so quick to like kind of cut people off because they kind of like they have characteristics of like your old self.
Yep.
If you have like actually taken proper care of that part of yourself from your past that was traumatizing to you, you wouldn't be so quick to knock off somebody
Right.
who is like that now. Like
Mhm.
that's why we have mentors. That's why you have people that you go to for help. The older crowd, like the old heads, for
Mhm.
example, for someone who's like a young adult, they're not about to knock you off because you're making the mistake that they made 3 years ago.
Exactly.
They're going to attract to you
They've
more.
accepted. They
Yeah.
have made peace with it.
Exactly.
So of course, they're not going to knock you for it.
Exactly.
But someone who is insecure about something within themselves, they're going to be so quick to knock you off.
Yeah.
Ew. Excuse
like
me,
that?
but you
Exactly.
too.
Stole the words right out of my mouth.
you tell me-
Exactly.
So you mean to tell me that you don't masturbate, but because I said I did, I'm the
Now I'm
problem?
a problem?
Now you're judging me
Okay.
for, oh yeah, I said I'm a child of God, but I still drink. So you want to knock me off because I said I'm drinking and I said I'm a child of God? Help me.
Hello.
If anything, save me. Pray for me.
Thank you. That's
Don't
what I
throw
don't
me
get
into
from
the dirt with the rest of the.
Why hate on me when you can
Let's
help
really
me?
talk.
Yeah,
I could really go on.
exactly.
That one right there.
But
That's a whole
I've learned not
2,
to
3
judge. I've learned
hours.
to accept and
Yep.
just just be accepting and understanding. That's really what it comes down to,
Mhm.
and make peace with it for yourself to be able to like help others.
Yeah. Like she said, take care of yourself.
Exactly. Well, thank you, ladies, so much.
Thank
This is an
you.
amazing conversation.
Yeah, this is
Not
great.
much disagreement. Like I think, like you guys are just like I'm over here. Like I don't need to say anything. I don't need to put. I mean, like usually I'm just like, well, actually,
we migrated
right?
by
Like
looking
it's
at each other and we're like, yeah,
like
We didn't even have to fight.
yeah.
There was no debate.
actually,
Let's
you're wrong.
really
Um,
talk about
Just
it.
move the mic.
No, like
Listen.
move the mic to the side. So you said, I know what you said.
Why would you say that? Like, you know who I am.
But
No, I'm
yeah,
just kidding.
well, we will do a part 2. I think if we talk about relationships, there'll probably be some back and forth on that, which I'm looking forward to. But
Okay.
you guys are
He
more
just
than
wants to
welcome
hear
to
us
come up
fight.
in the
Does.
into the podcast
Mhm.
as much as you guys want. So just let me know. We'll get
Okay.
you guys back on. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, likes, comments, subscribe. Comments mandatory. Please tell us what you think. Write to these ladies. Follow them on Instagram. Follow them on social media platforms. Support them. They're obviously amazing. And again, thank you guys so much. We'll see you at the next one.
Thank you.
Hi, guys.